Morning.
Okay, now we're recording. Okay, good. Good to see you again, Christopher. So, for the record, tell me about that evening back in October 1988. Your father regularly attended Freemason events in central London, and as was the custom of things, he would come back, at 10 or 11 o'clock at night on the train from central London. His wife would stay with you nearby, and the usual practice was he would ring when he got home, and you would bring his wife back to him. And on this particular evening, that didn't happen.
Okay, so on this particular evening, my mother would come to my family, and I have a wife and children, and we'd have a meal together, and she'd spend the evening with us. And Dad would arrive home at his house, and he would call us, and then the usual thing was I would take her home. But he didn't call, and it got later and later. I think we called the house. I can't remember that. But anyway, Mum in the end said, I want to get back to be with Dad.
Yeah.
So I took her back. And Eugene is a townhouse.
Yeah.
It has an outer porch door, and I could see a light was on in the hall. I don't remember too much else about other lights around the house, but in the hall, and the outer porch door was closed but never locked, and I went through that. And immediately I saw that the inner door that would be locked and for which we had the keys was slightly ajar. And at that point, I felt just uneasy.
Uh-huh.
And I went in, of course, my mother, who was a similar age to me now, went in behind me, and we traversed down the hallway. And the first room you come into at the bottom of the stairs is a kitchen and diner. And I looked in there, and again, I could see that my father kept a safe. I was well aware of a really big, heavy thing that you need either a forklift truck or 4 men and a trolley to move, a really big, old-fashioned safe. It was wide open, and the cloth that covered it, that would have concealed it in the room, was pulled back, and the door was wide open. I went in and I looked at it, and I became very uneasy. After that, I went back, and Mother and I were both feeling very uneasy, feeling it was strange.
Yes.
And we kept quietly, and I climbed to the first floor landing, and I found my father's body.
And he'd been very violently assaulted, hadn't he?
Well, I've recognised the clothes, Eugene, but I didn't really recognise the frame that was sitting on the floor. But Eugene, at this stage, I can know now that my mind didn't work properly, was in stasis, because I was in deep shock. Horror was what I was experiencing.
Yeah.
So, Eugene, over to myself for a second. So, here is my father, another living witness, stating that he found my grandfather's that night, and the safe was, certainly wide open. We've just done a video previous to this where you've seen as well the historical murder squad in Putney told me in 2021 that the safe was open, and they were researching all of my work that I put together with regards to people's names who were in business with my grandfather with regards to the safe that was open. And now
Jordan, just to spell it out, we're talking here about people who would have a financial incentive to be involved at some level, whether physically or directing operations in the murder of your grandfather.
Well, also, from the financial, they need to be in a position of control after the murder to take the assets. And obviously, relating to the other individual who signed a witness statement, an ex-accountancy firm, signed a Section 9 witness statement with ex-police that I work with. It's the same trust service provider in the Isle of Jersey. It's all the same people. So I have really truly found out who's behind my grandfather's financially motivated murder. So that's why the police have decided in 2023 that the safe is now firmly shut. They're actually working very hard on trying to release some evidence to my father and I that supports that the safe was shut that night. I told that Pacific officer, do not fabricate evidence. And please go and interview these living witnesses and stop accusing me of producing fraudulent statements. Can you interview the living witnesses?
Yeah.
So, you know, that's why really my father's come on here today, is to explain that he's now asked for his tapes when he was questioned because he found the body with my grandmother, that would quite clearly say that the safe was open. They're now refusing to give him his tapes. So we're wondering, you can't access justice here. Now, if the safe was shut that night, which we say it certainly wasn't, but let's work on the basis that the safe was shut from the police's point of view, yeah? Well, could you kindly give me an inventory of all the documents that are in the safe so my family and I can access our rightful inheritance all these decades on? You're obstructing my family, and we've suffered an increasing amount of hardship because of police corruption. Now, please don't even get me started on the Masons and why I've got a lot of documents that predates my grandfather's murder. Now, that'll be another video, but that'll be a little hint to the people of power to understand. Our next videos, we'll talk about Eugene and I and our interaction with the Freemasons and why we had to speak to them, because they were named as the beneficiaries in my grandfather's unsigned trust deed left in Jersey. So I think that's probably where we're going to leave the video today, Eugene. I think it's nice and short to the.
Well, just one other thing I wanted to say was that, Christopher, you've explained to me that you had a good life, you were living in the Far East, you had property, but gradually over the years, things have become harder and harder for you, and you suffered greatly from other people's nefarious activities, which I think is fair to say.
For over 3 decades, gradually my standard of living was dropped away because they took away the business which was interconnected with my father's affairs.
Yeah, and many different sort of companies. For example, my father is involved in a UK property company in this country. We can't enforce our rights there. There's many different property companies in the Isle of Man and Jersey where our family have never got the income with regards to my grandfather's letters of wishes or letter of intent. We even have a convicted fraudster in one of the islands dissolving one of our family's companies, and the police there opened and shut that case with me over 15 times. You know, and sadly, I've had attempts on my life, Eugene, but there's a many series of videos for us to go through. But the first things first is, why are the police not interviewing living witnesses? Why are they treating me the way they do when they wouldn't even take my documents in person? I had to leave them with a security guard and a Putney. You know, it's just crazy. They won't accept certain electronic transfers. I'm going back up there, you know, soon. What I will do is print out a leaflet, and it will say, is the safe open or shut? And I'll go and start handing them outside, you know, Sir Mark Rowley's office in Scotland Yard, because I can prove the safe was open. And, you know, from the emails that the last communications we've had from them, they're trying to fabricate evidence over the last 3 weeks, which they still haven't supplied to us yet. But they're thinking about releasing us some information that will show to us that the safe was shut. Now, that is just so annoying when someone's doing that to you. So henceforth, I've returned the favour and come on TV or this channel, social media, with your good self, Eugene, and my father, to let them know you're having that. And if the safe is shut, give me all the documents from the safe then. So either way, there's stuff, because they're only there to protect the island's financial institutions and reputation, in my view, which when I get to court will be ruined.
Yeah, good. All right, well, look, thank you both very much for your time this morning. And Christopher, pleasure to finally meet you face to face, as it were. And I wish you all the best, and I'll keep fighting to help you get what is rightfully yours.
Thank you very much, Eugene. Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Have a lovely...
See you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.